procrastination. If you procrastinate to the point where, something that you can do today, you're telling yourself, I'll leave it for tomorrow. You know what? I would love to do that, but I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it next year. Every time that you do something, or you don't do something, is a missed opportunity. And there's something for, yeah. No, go ahead.
I think I was reading or something.
Yeah.
This guy, he was talking about before you say you don't have time to do something.
Yeah.
Think about what your priorities are.
Yeah.
So if it says, okay, like I would prioritize eating over going to pray.
Yeah.
I had time to pray, I just choose to eat food.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I thought, okay, well, I need to eat.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I prioritize eating or sleeping over praying.
Yeah.
I need to sleep around time. When you have time,
Yeah.
you do have time.
Oh, yeah. So it's about prioritizing, and everybody knows about the four quadrants of time. What do we put them into? Anybody can come and draw them for me? What are the four quadrants? Okay, what's the first quadrant has in it? So it's urgent and it's important. Okay, and the next one? So it's urgent. It's not important. And this one? Not urgent. And it's important. And this one? It's not urgent and it's not important. And that is important, but is this a static concept or is it a dynamic concept? Can things move from one category to the next? Yes, it can, okay. And that's important. How does that apply to, we'll be talking about Sharia and all that business at some point. So how does that apply to what? So what about if I decided, well, look, you know what,
You could use prayer also, but okay, so prayer, of course, is important.
What about if I spend the night, I want to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I've read Surah Al-Furqan, and then I've read all those lovely qualities of the Ibadur Rahman at the end. All 14 of them, or 15. So I've read them, and it says, they're amongst the qualities are those who, they get up in the middle of the night and they pray and that type of thing. I say, I want to become like that, somebody who is devoted to tahajjud. So I perform my tahajjud, but then I fall asleep, and then Fajr time comes and then it goes. And then I get up late. What do you think about that? Yeah? It's a good thing, isn't it? I'm not saying don't perform tahajjud, but it's good. Yeah. But what happens? Which one is more important? Fard is more important. Okay? So you learn to realize that fard is more important. So it means that it could be that you want to develop the discipline of tahajjud, but why not just get up a few minutes before the start of Fajr? You pray your 2 rakah or whatever it is that you want to pray to develop that habit, and then you pray your Fajr at the same time. Okay? So it's about things like that. You can easily take something, and sometimes it's good. Sometimes some things are really good. You might be involved in a dawah activity, and suddenly you get a telephone call saying, one of your family members is ill, or somebody else needs your attention. And then you tend to tell them, how can you ask me? Wallahi, I'm in the middle of this event or whatever it is. This is so important. This is for dawah. This is for fi sabilillah, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then somebody else is asking for your help. What do you do? Which one? Where does the priority lie? Where do you think it lies? Family, isn't it? Family? Okay, family. Anybody disagree? Okay? All right? Family. And sometimes, it's easy. It's relatively easy to be involved in some form of Islamic activity. I'm not saying don't get involved in Islamic activities. It is relatively easy to become involved in some sort of Islamic activity because in a sense it is also enjoyable. You meet new friends and company and you have a good time and you have beautiful food and this and that and so on. As opposed to perhaps dealing with a conflict which is taking place in the home. Isn't it? A conflict which is taking place in the home. It's easy to be here rather than there. Okay? I mean, one of the brothers was telling me, I wouldn't say who, but one of the brothers was telling me, he said that, look, I have a couple of wives and, I always give them a threat, If you guys misbehave, I'm going to go off for 40 days, in Tabligh Jamaat. That's the threat, Or if worse yet, I might go for 4 months. Okay? So can you see? Can you see how we can get our sense of priorities wrong? How we can use something which is meant. I remember when I used to teach in the Darul Uloom, believe it or not, one of the forms of punishment that was assigned to students if they misbehave was to perform salah. So they say, well, what did you do? Oh, you did this and so on. So all right, go there and perform 50 rak'ah of nawafil. All right, 50 rak'ah of nawafil. In the middle, go and perform 50 rak'ah of nawafil. Okay? So you would have these little children, just going across, this, and they will go across, and then they'll say, well, look, and this one here, you go and make sure he performs 50 and count. So you have somebody counting and he's going up and down for 50 times, 50, 100, standing and sitting, just to make sure he does 50 rak'ah of nawafil as a punishment for what he's just done. Can you see how we've changed? We've taken something which is so beautiful and we've made we made something of it, which is, okay. So this ayah of the Quran also talks about something else. It talks about people, when the day of judgment comes, they would often ask, can we get an opportunity again? They want to go back. Okay? All right, so then the step 9 is perfecting the beginning. So he says here, a sign of success in the end comes from relating a matter to God in the beginning. If there is no sunrise in the beginning, there is no sunrise in the end. I think this is related to something, one of those that we've spoken about before. Huh? 1, isn't it? Oh, did we? Okay. Was it this one? Yeah. Yeah. Patience with tests. So let's do this one. Do not be surprised when difficulties happen in this worldly abode. This is the nature of life. Okay, so for this one, I want you to look at those 2 references. So go to 29:2. And go to 47:31 and tell me what you see there. So that's the references. So relate those references. Yeah. (47:31), yeah. Okay, if you look at the first one, what do you think the first one says? 29:2. Yeah, what does the first one say? Anybody?
It literally goes to Iman.
It goes to Iman. What does it say about Iman?
Don't be surprised when I said don't be surprised when difficulty happens.
No, 29:2.
Yeah.
Being tested. Okay. Yeah? Everyone will be tested. Right. Okay. This thing about test, very often what happens with a test, people often ask the question, why has it happened to me? Why me? One of the things I have to do on a daily basis is that, of course, I operate on people. And before an operation, you have to sign a consent form. People have to give you consent for the operation. So let's say I'm doing a hip replacement. So people have to sign a consent form. So I would tell them that, that your hip can dislocate, you can get an infection, you can die, you can get a clot, you can go to your legs, you can go to your heart, you could end up, you could die. So it's, you can have leg length discrepancy, all of these different types, and it can go wrong. And most people, even before I finish with what I'm saying, would just say that, okay, that's fine, and then sign on the dotted line. Okay, without even thinking, they sign on the dotted line. And the reason being, and I tell them, and I go further as well, I tell them what is the chances of you developing one of those things, that there's a less than a 1% chance you can develop this, or this can happen to you, and so forth and so on. But for most people, when they think about complications from an operative procedure, if I told you there was a 10% chance that maybe your symptoms will go, and 90% chance that you might be a success, which is good, they think that they are within the 90%. Always. And then the moment that something goes wrong, let's say they get an infection afterwards, they are often in a state of denial. You never told me that I can get an infection. You never told me that my hip can dislocate. You never told me that, look, that this limb may not function and well, that it might need to be revised. They know, they've heard it, but I never knew that it was that, it could actually develop. It becomes a shock for people.